Now we're ready to conquer a real practical client project. So you've hopefully had a chance to review the client project. You're now tasked with creating this logo, and I can't wait to see what you come up with. I've already seen some really talented entries by some students, and I love to kind of look at those and review those. But anyway, let's go ahead and go through my process of how I went through this same client challenge. And we're going to go ahead and draw what I thought would be my inspiration for this is the waves, because they're on the Pacific coast. Let's focus on the waves. We can make these really calming waves. I think we can use the golden ratio curves to kind of make a really nice calming wave. So that's going to be kind of what I'm going to be playing with here. So what I'm going to do is, instead of just trying to make waves with circles and trying to drag them around to create intersecting lines, what I'm going to do is I'm going to get my reference photo, but I'm also going to kind of draw a wave and then adapt the golden ratio to it. So I'm just going to kind of draw kind of a generic wave, and then we can go ahead and start adapting it. So I just went to pexels.com or anywhere you want to find some free photos, and kind of downloaded this to kind of get some inspiration for the curve of the wave, just something to look at while I'm drawing this wave to get an idea of kind of the motion and the anatomy of a wave. So I'm going to go ahead and get the pen tool, and we're going to go ahead and draw. So I'm just going to draw, and a lot of times what I do, so if I have the pen tool, I can click and hold, and I can get some pretty nice curves that way. But if I start out with the curvature tool, I can get a lot better curves. So I have the curvature tool now instead of the regular pen tool, and look at that, I'm already able to create a really nice looking wave. What I love about the curvature tool is that I can add points in between to accentuate and get it into a sharper angle. I can always go back and adjust anything I want to. Okay, and so now I'm just going to switch back to the pen tool, and then I'm able to close the shape out. So there's our first little wave. Let's go ahead and make that a fill. We can go back, and we're going to use the golden ratio to get it a lot better than what we have here. And what I thought might be neat is to kind of copy and paste this, make this a different color. So let's kind of bring this in and see what kind of intersecting lines we can make. But we're just getting a really rough estimate. So I want to see the white on the top, but also kind of want to see a little bit here on the bottom. So you kind of see the little bit of lighting that comes down here. Okay, so that looks crazy, but what I want to do is I want the shape in between here. So I'm going to make this a fill, and I'm going to use the shape builder tool, and I'm going to punch out all this excess. So just holding down Option and punching out, trimming it all up. So now I have the outside of my wave and I have the inside of my wave. And one thing we can do is create a copy of this and do a negative space and have another little wave kind of punching out in a negative space, because I think if you have two rolling waves, it really makes sense that it's an ocean. There's just way more than one wave. It'll make it very obvious that this is ocean wave. I think the one thing we want to avoid is making sure it doesn't look too busy and there's not too many angles or curves going on. So we can make this white so we can kind of emulate that cutout or how that would look. So just trying to find the right position. Once again, that we're going to use the golden ratio to really find out what type of placement will be good according to this wave. So both waves will have some kind of connection with each other with the golden ratio. So I'm just going to continue to figure out the placement of that. So let's go ahead and get that golden ratio applied. I'm just going to copy and paste this and start to do some application. And so if I change the sizes of the circles, I need to change them all at once. So this is when we can kind of get this fitted on there. Okay, so now I'm already seeing kind of an opportunity, a couple of them, to maybe see how this wave and I'm going to go back up to the one we just copied and pasted. So you see this wave and how it just kind of ends sharply right there. It doesn't kind of have this smooth, this is so smooth. And then down here you have this kind of sharp edges. And this little sharp edge right down here will not produce really well on printed materials and embroidery. We want to have a little bit of a smoother cutout. So we're going to do that using the golden ratio. We're going to go down here and we can use this circle right here. Go ahead and ungroup this to maybe trim that and give it a nice circular cut on the bottom. And then up here you can see ways where I can adapt this using the curvature tool to get a better match. So I can even bring this all the way over here. And same thing down here, we can crop that So let's take this circle right here. I'm going to go ahead and make it a different color so you can see which one I'm talking about. We're going to be trimming this, and I'm going to get my shape builder tool and I'm just going to trim it. Just like that. I made a nice trimmed shape. So having to redraw is very common, so you might get to a point where, ooh, I cropped that wrong, or it's just you take away the circles and you're realizing that's not quite the effect I was going for. It's very common to kind of start over. So I kind of redrew the waves a little bit here to kind of have a more kind of top down, so it's not coming, the wave's not crashing too far, it's kind of cresting. So just kind of showing you kind of my thought process here. So let's go ahead and adapt this symbol now to the golden ratio. So this one will be a little bit easier, and I'm going to take that curvature tool and I'm going to continue to adapt this to this circle. And feel free, as always, to take the pen tool and delete anchor points if you think there's too many, or to add them if you need to. I really had a chance to move this into specific circles, and this is just a matter of me taking those golden ratio circles, duplicating them, and kind of arranging them in a way where I wanted the curve to bend, or wanted the wave to bend. So you notice that it takes 1, 2, 3, 4 of these circles. Let's go ahead and make that a different color. 4 of these circles to really kind of create the wave shape there, and they're just overlapping, and I'm using where they overlap to help make corners and to help make points where they come to a point. And so now this is a hot mess. We got a lot of intersecting circles here, so I'm going to select everything, go ahead and deselect my wave, and I'm going to change the stroke on this. I'm going to add my dashed lines. Let's go ahead and do a 2-point dash. See how that looks? Kind of reduce the weight on that, and even make it a little bit of opacity, a little bit transparent, and then group them together. So now I can really take a better look at all my intersecting areas, make any last adjustments, make sure everything is pretty precise. With the golden ratio, you want to be precise. So we're just going to go around with the curvature tool and do some last tweaks and edits. Okay, and I think we're ready. I think I'm really happy with that symbol. We can go ahead and remove our separator, really copy and paste it over to a new artboard, and we can really start now to play around with color. We can also start to work with typography and arrangement to see if we can find some really good typography for the logo, a really nice typeface. And you'll notice with the wave I have the lighter color on the top to show highlights, and kind of the darker inside of the wave is a darker shade of that same blue. But colors aren't really final, as we discovered in our first logo design. I'm going to actually turn this back into black and white while I work on the typography, and then we're going to get to have a chance to pick color palettes. And this we're going to take and do a final client presentation where, let's say we've already gone through the concept process, we've kind of gone through that together with a coffee grind logo. We're going to take this a step further, and after client approves it, presenting that final mock-up where we choose the color palette and we present this in a really, really nice way to get that final go ahead to get those final files. That's the final step. After you have a logo approved, you send all the final files that we're going to do. We're going to go through that entire process. So let's go in here and try to get the right balance between typography and the logo mark.